All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Lara Barr. I'm the owner and founder of Emerging Educational Consulting. We are so happy to have you joining us today on our Growing Good Humans podcast. Our company, Emerging, provides one-to-one mentorship for parents and students from the beginning to the end of the college application process. When I talk about what we do, I talk about waking up every day to grow good humans. And the best way to do that is providing people with education and information. Today, I'm delighted to have Jamie Kidder here with me from College Living Experience. This is a program that I feel like is essential for families in our entire country and the world to know about. So, Jamie, will you just jump right in and tell us what is CLE, College Living Experience?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Laura, thank you so
Introduce
much.
yourself. Oh my gosh, and introduce your amazing self.
Well, thank you. Well, again, my name is Jamie Kidder. I am the National Outreach Director for College Living Experience. And Laura, thank you so much for inviting myself and CLE to join you today. So we're really excited to share who we are and what we do, because like you said, what we do is so important for our kiddos, for them to grow and prosper and be independent adults. So since 1989, CLE has been providing individualized, comprehensive, and collaborative wraparound support to post-secondary young adults with varying and unique abilities. Our supports are tailored to each individual student based on their goals, their strengths, their needs, and are fluid in that as a student's goals, skills, and strengths continue to grow, their support structure evolves with them. So our students choose either a career or an academic track when they join us, and we support them through 16 to 22 hours of coaching each week in 4 pillar areas: academic, career, social, and independent living. Students come to one of our 7, soon to be 8 centers from across, our 8 centers are located across the country, but they really come to us from around the world. We're located in Rockville, Maryland, just outside the DC metro, Nashville, Tennessee, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Denver, Colorado, Austin, Texas, and in California, we are in Monterey, Costa Mesa, and soon to be San Diego coming this fall. And while our support scaffolding and operational structure are the same at each center, each location is really taking on the environment and the culture and the general vibe that the city that it's in. So each center really has its own unique appeal, even though we operate the same in each city.
I think one of the questions I know everybody must have in mind, like, I don't get it. College living experience, like, where do they go to college? Is it part of a college? I know the answer, but if you could explain to everybody else.
Absolutely. So we get asked that all the time. Where will my kiddo go to school? What college are you affiliated with? So we are not contractually bound to any college in any of the cities that we are located in. So students really can attend where they want to go within that city, and choose any subject they want to study, and we will support them along the way. Now, having said that, we've been in each of these cities long enough that these colleges know who we are and they know who we serve. And so they walk right alongside us in helping support the student. You know, our students are adults. They are ranging in age from 18 to 28 years old. And so we strongly encourage our students to sign all of the FERPA agreements or FERPA documentation with each of the institutions, so that should a student request that we have a conversation with an administrator or with a faculty member or an accommodations office, we can do so on their behalf, or we can accompany them in those conversations. But again, we're not contractually bound to any of the institutions. We work with them all. Wherever our students want to attend, that's where we support them.
So is the process, let's talk about the process. Student applies to a college in your, like, their parents are aware. They're like, okay, college living experience is in this area, and here are the colleges that are around that. So we'll apply there as a strategy. Is that how it happens? And then they have to be accepted into that college, and then they come to you. Is that how that works?
Oftentimes that is how that works. There's so many variations of the process. Typically a student will know, I want to study geology at this particular institution. So families will take a campus tour, they will apply to the institution. A lot of our students don't, they are taking 1 or 2 courses at a time, so they may not matriculate into the university right away. They may take courses as a non-matriculated student. So it really varies, and we will walk the student, or we will help the parents and the student walk through that process. It also, if the student comes to us early enough, we can walk alongside the family, or we can, pick up where the family has already, gone through that admissions process with the institution if they're, being accepted into CLE closer to semester start.
A lot of people in this community who listen know that I have a daughter who has pretty significant special needs, and she is 25. Could she have gone to your program without being in a college?
Absolutely. The career track is another option for students. And just like neurotypical students, their goals change. So they may take 1 semester in college and decide that that's not for them at this time, and they switch tracks. So we move tracks with the student. So as their goals change, or as their goals evolve, we change our support structure and meet them where they are according to what their pivot point looks like.
That's wonderful. I'm wondering what kind of, well, I'm thinking about a couple things. One is like, what does it look and feel like is it like a dorm? Are there apartments? Are there people on staff who live on the floor? Are there RAs? Like, bring that to life for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the really great things about CLE, especially for those college bound students, because they want to be successful in college. But we know that really academics is a small piece of, or academic success is a small piece of what makes the college experience successful. And so our students live in a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom apartment with another CLE student while they're going to school. And so we are there to provide for them through that ILS, or that independent living pillar of support. We're able to support them in ways that the college typically does not support them in roommate conflict, or in daily budgeting, in just everyday life that the accommodations office typically is not equipped to support a student in. So students are truly living independently with a very tightly woven safety net while they're attending school.
Do you have age limits as far as how young or how old students can be to be in the program?
So typically students are ranging in age from 18 really to 28, 29 years old. We want students to be able to find their people, and we help them orchestrate that, but mostly they're in that age range, because the older the student is, they're not necessarily going to find their people when they're attending school with us.
You brought something up. You said we offer what sometimes just regular support services at colleges don't offer.
Mm-hmm.
What are the difference between those two?
In accommodations offices at the college level?
Yeah,
absolutely. So like I said before, colleges do a really good job at providing accommodations to address a student's needs inside the classroom, whether that's adaptive technology, additional test time, or helping a student with note taking, for example, really whatever that student's academic accommodations look like. However, we know that, again, that success in the classroom or mastering course content is really only a fraction or a small piece of what makes that college experience successful. And colleges really don't have the bandwidth to extend services beyond the classroom or extend support outside of the classroom, which is why our pillars of support encompass so much more. On a really broad level, accommodations on the college campus, they don't help students with budgeting, personal finances, daily hygiene routines, which a lot of our students struggle with, grocery shopping, meal prep, peer-to-peer conflict resolution, social isolation. a lot of our students will will experience something that derails them potentially, and they isolate in their dorm room. And a lot of times parents don't realize this until it's a month and a half later, and it's detrimental to that college experience. Or really environmental specific communication skills. College accommodations offices are not equipped to help students navigate social situations, or build their communication skills in whatever those situations dictate. And so these are just a few of the ways that we support our students beyond what the traditional college accommodations office will step in and help with.
How are parents included? I'm imagining that is a big question. Like, wait, and especially, being a mom of a student who has special needs, it's like you sometimes feel like you do have the right in some strange way. It's not like the right, but it's like I feel like I should know what's going on. And if they're signing FERPA and they have their own independence, like how do you manage helicopter parents like me?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, you're not the only one. That would be 100% of all the parents that we have, of our students. So, when students come to us, parents receive 5 free coaching sessions with a parent coach professional. And we talk about those things, about letting go of the bicycle seat, that, with our supports, your student will be safe. They will be growing, but it's going to be uncomfortable. There are going to be situations that they're not used to, or that they're used to having mom and dad step in. But we will make sure they get back on that bicycle. In working with parents, repeat your question really quickly, Laura.
I think it was just like, how do you integrate parents? And you did such a good job already answering. So if you feel done, that's fine.
Yeah. No, so we, in the 16 to 22 hours of coaching sessions that a student is in a week, each of those coaches, and our coaches, by the way, are full-time degreed staff members. So and they all work, in-house. Every time they meet with a student, whether it's a group session or an individual coaching session, very detailed notes are put into the student's portal, and they are released to parents. So on a daily basis, parents can log into that portal and see exactly what's going on with that student. We are also very much in communication with parents, in that if we start seeing a student, a shift in behavior, or something that is a little more significant, we will immediately contact parents, because we want to provide, again, that comprehensive support system, and pull parents in to help us have developmental conversations if we need to have those, and celebrate the victories too, if that's what we need to report as well. So parents are very much involved in the process, yet they're allowed to do it from a distance and celebrate the victories. But when we do need to pull parents in, we absolutely do, to help us have those conversations.
I think that is very generous and an extremely holistic process, because I feel like those of us who have been raising these kids for so long and so many years, it's like you really just you've always depended on a village, and you're part of the village. And quite frankly, I feel like with my daughter Olivia, I'm going to need a village for the rest of her life. So it's really nice to hear that is a strategy that you all implement. What is the criteria for admissions into your program? Like, what are you looking for in a candidate? And this is maybe 2 questions. We can talk about them separately, but I know Hannah uploaded a document, Independent Living Skills Checklist. And we, in our practice, talk a lot about launching kids into the world as citizens. We also talk about how early some of those skills need to start. It's not like the day before, the summer before college, we're going to start with independent skills. They start from the time, really from kindergarten, I believe, and then moving and release more responsibility as the students get older. So one of my questions is like, what are you really looking for? And then what is a student who comes to you who's like, wow, that parent really did a good job? So we can start with the first question.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, in terms of admissions, quote unquote, requirements, it's really more a conversation with the family. Most of our students have come to us with a diagnosed learning difference on the autism spectrum, nonverbal learning disorder. They've got dyslexia. They've got, or a number of other ADHD, a number of other diagnoses. But some of our students don't have a diagnosis at all. Maybe they're just lacking in executive function, and they could really benefit from, again, that tightly woven safety net and those hours of support that are very focused on building those skills that they're going to need to get out into the great big world as an adult. But again, it's a conversation. So some of the things that we do want to talk about would be medication management. We like to see a student to have some level of independence in taking medications. If they're taking medications on a daily basis, we want them to have some level of independence in that. Have they had any significant mental health occurrences in the last 6 to 12 months? And again, that is not a disqualifier for admission, but that does lead us into different conversations. What did that occurrence look like, or what did that situation look like? Where are we at in managing that situation, and how long has it been? And what have we been able to maintain some regulation, and what has that looked like? But again, just a conversation to gauge where we're at. And oftentimes we'll say, let's give it another 2 months or another 3 months of really good stability, and let's have a conversation again. So meds management, where are we at in any mental health issues? And what are their goals? Do they want to live at CLE while they're pursuing either a post-secondary education or a career? Because if a student is doing this simply because mom and dad want them to do it, they're not going to be successful. We don't have eyes on our students 24/7, and we're not dragging them out of their apartments to their coaching sessions or their outside responsibilities. They want to be there. We need them to want to be there. And so those are really what we talk about with parents. There are some students who present for admission that maybe they don't need our level of support, or maybe they need a more significant level of support. And we've got resources where we will refer a family to one or the other. It's all about the student. We want what's best for them. But again, it's just a conversation, and we go from there.
And then maybe, I don't know, I was thinking the follow-up question may not be fair, because all students and parents come in all shapes and sizes of their toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I do wonder if you have advice for parents like me, like if you're thinking about a ninth grader and there's things that you could start working with your student on now, is there anything that you could advise us on?
Absolutely. I think giving your child just additional responsibilities, no matter how big or small, but making them accountable for very small things, because that accountability is going to be huge when they're living with a roommate and on their own, and their responsibility is tidying up their half of the kitchen when their roommate is doing the other half. So I think when parents are really, they're starting very early with tiny little things, but giving their child responsibility and holding them accountable to those responsibilities are going to set a really solid foundation, allowing an organization and coaches and coaching sessions like ours at CLE just to build a higher pyramid on that more solid foundation. And that ILS checklist that you mentioned, and I believe that you've got that digitally, but I can send that to you to send out or attach to the
we
webinar.
definitely have it included.
Yeah, it is a great tool for parents just to really gauge where their student or where their kiddo is at in their independent living skills, and just a few things that they can start working on now, again, to build that more solid foundation.
We actually have our own launch checklist that we like, where it actually rates, like you rate 23 out of 26, and then we have like a goal setting. If you want to set goals, here's what you do. But I like how you started with the kitchen. It's like, I think the kitchen is the hardest thing there takes a lot of executive function skills in a kitchen. Like, where are you going to start? Where are you going to put, you have to unload before you can load. You have to, find the right top to the right bottom for the Tupperware and all of that. So I think the kitchen really is such a great place to start. And I'm a big fan of having kids help do that when they're little, like 5 years old, helping to clean the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for that tip. What about um, matching roommates? And I'll say this: my one of the things about my daughter Olivia is while she had significant special needs, she didn't identify as having special needs.
Mhm.
And I see this more and more today, especially with parents who really, really worked hard to integrate their kids into classrooms and inclusive classrooms. And these students get older and they're like, wait, I don't want to live with like the not cool kids, which is not me saying that, but that's what a lot of these kids say. Like, I'm ready to be out in the big world with everybody and I don't want to be in this environment. And that was something we actually still continue with Olivia to address, and she's 25.
Yeah.
So how does that work? And do you have advice around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is a great question. We hear it all the time. We do our best to match roommates based on shared interests, like just like universities do when they're matching roommates to live in a dorm together. And just like at a university, there may come a time when conflict arises. And again, that's part of independent living skills coaching, is working through that conflict. Now, in regard to roommates, because the students are living in an apartment complex that is a community complex, even though their roommate is another college living experience student, their next door neighbor could be a young married couple with a 2-year-old.
Mm.
So, in regard to students having some resistance because of them not wanting to identify as a student with a learning difference, or necessarily be rooming with another student with a learning difference, because they are so integrated into the community through living in this community complex, and they have access to all of the complex amenities, the pool, the game room, the gym and things like that. We really don't find much resistance in their not wanting to identify as someone with a disability or with a learning difference.
And I think this is a really important piece because your college living experience, but it's not like you have a dorm somewhere where all of those kids live near a campus.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
and I think that is a really important thing to leave with, remembering that it's more. What about colleges that do like it's required to live first year on campus? Is that an accommodation that you've seen students get in the past, and how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I know that there are colleges that will make exceptions. And I believe that is done through the accommodations office. But I can certainly find that out. And what each of the individual centers, because I know that varies from institution to institution, not CLE institution, but from the college institution, from that side.
And I'm sure it's just school to school, but I guess the question would then be if your hope is to be in a CLE program, to
Mhm.
reach out to housing and admissions before you apply to the school to then find out, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they can't even do that. But so that's an interesting. Okay, so here's another question. These students are living in apartments. They're living in these really cool cities
Mhm.
that you guys have designated as places where you serve. What about transportation and how students get around, and how does that work?
So that's another great question. So through the independent living skills coaching, uh, navigating the community is a significant part of that. The majority of our students don't drive, and so we want them to be independent and confident in their getting from one place to another. So we work with students over a long period of time on navigating the community through public transportation, bus system, trains. Um, you know, a lot of our students have bicycles, and so they'll ride. They'll ride their bicycle to the college campus or wherever they're going. But we want the students to understand the process of navigating the community, not just getting from point A to point B using the bus system, for example. They may forget a book or forget a backpack, and we want them to be able to be comfortable in going to the website, looking at the next available bus, where do I need to be and at what time, and is it going to get me to my destination on time? So again, we're focusing on that navigation as a process, or navigating the community as a process rather than a task from point A to point B. We want them to be able to transfer that process to any city that they're in.
That's great. That's great. So it's like they're part of if they're part of a college, they're getting coaching around how to be part of not only the college community, but the city that they live in.
Absolutely.
And they are getting access to, if they're not in college and they're just doing career, they're getting engaged in the city that they live in, not only with transportation, but like how to be a citizen in that community.
Right. Right. The coaching really happens both one-on-one in CLE offices, but it happens all over the community. So it happens on public transportation, the college campus, and the student's place of employment, in the mall, in the grocery store, in a restaurant. Really, anywhere that student is living their life is where coaching is happening. Go ahead.
You mentioned, you kind of talked about the amount of hours that parents have with students. Is there a designated amount of hours that parents can count on that their students are going to get?
So most of our students, when they first join CLE, are receiving anywhere from 16 to 22 hours a week.
Wow.
And if you were to look at an example of a student's schedule, it's full. I mean, 16 to 22 hours, that's a pretty full schedule. And that doesn't include hours that they're spending in class or on public transportation, getting to and from either class or work, whichever track they're on. We've also, within that schedule, we build in quote unquote downtime, because throughout all of the coaching that's going on, we also focus really heavily on executive function. That's the one thing that ties all of these coaching pillars together. And there's not an executive function pillar because it happens everywhere. So we have intentionally given the student quote unquote downtime to practice those executive function skills in, I've got 2 hours between my tutoring session and my next session for social coaching. But I'm having friends over tonight for game night and I need to clean my bathroom. So I've got 2 hour chunk of time that I can do that. So we want students to really think about what their day looks like and map out the things that they need to do in that quote unquote downtime, which, we all know as working adults doesn't exist.
I love that though, but I love that you make downtime. Like downtime is on the calendar because that's something we have to learn how to manage, is how to manage downtime.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's amazing. Well, I'm so happy that you exist. I remember looking back in the day, I think Denver was one of the first. Is that right?
I believe it was. I
think Denver was one of the first. I remember looking for Olivia at that time. I just couldn't grasp it's such an overwhelming process with making decisions for kids, and there's so many options, but I know that you have all developed such an incredible program at College Living Experience, and I'm so happy that you're offering this. And if people want to reach out to you, we'll put your contact information, your email, either in this chat or follow up. And is there anything you want to say to end our session? I always promise my fan base that they get 30 minutes and then we're done. We just want 30.
Well, I have seen some of these social engagement groups happen, and I have seen the way that students have developed their skills, and it is amazing to see the confidence and the pride that they have in accomplishing their goals. And my dog would agree.
I love that. I love your dog in the back. I feel like I need to apologize to everybody too, because of course the mowers came during the 30 minutes. I hope the sound was okay and you could hear. It's very loud for me, so hopefully you guys are not hearing all of that. But I can't thank you enough to have you with us, and I would love to come visit one of the the facilities. I think it'd be great. So I'd love to follow up with you on that.
Yeah, we would love to have you anytime.
Okay, thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you. Have a great day, hon. Bye bye.